Well, Modern Horizons is right around the corner, and we actually don't know that much about it yet. Give you all the information that we have. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of talk. So go ahead in the comments. Let's hash some of this stuff out. If anybody has more up-to-date information, let's get it in there. But starting out, the buy box is going to be Sanctum Prelate, a very, very solid Magic card. One that I've had a tough time keeping in stock, actually. Really, a lot of people have been asking for it, and they'll be relieved to see that it's going to be a buy a box, as they don't necessarily care about spending whatever it is, $30, $35 to get this card currently. Hopefully the buy a box promo is going to help out those players, and it's a great card. I mean, at 3 mana, you're basically getting a Chalice of the Void for a little bit more if you're shutting off 1 casting cost, and then the fact that you can easily take out key cards at either 4 mana or 6 mana, like if you've got a Terminus that you need to shut down, card does a lot of work, and it's going to be an interesting addition to Modern. It does really fight combo quite well, and is a very dangerous Magic card, and it actually turns sideways, so what's not to love? Of course, Counterspell is a card that people were very excited about. Kind of a polarizing card. Tournament players tend to love this card, or at least long-term tournament players, I guess I should say. It's the type of card that really allows players to leverage their skill and understanding of the game to fight battles over the most important cards and let other ones slide. Of course, there are games where you just get buried and your opponent has counters for literally everything you do, but more often than not, this type of card is going to end up increasing the aspect of skill within the game, and that's what great Magic players like. A lot of them want to prove how smart they are, and navigating complicated board states effectively with counter magic and card drawing and removal does give them that sense of satisfaction when they manage to get through a situation that a weaker player would have just lost in. We also have a beautiful new full art version of Counterspell, but honestly, there's no shortage to the amount of counterspells that you can run. I mean, you've got original alpha, you got summer, revised, tempest. There's so many different counterspells throughout the years to choose from. This has been around since literal alpha, so this is the oldest. This is tied for the oldest Magic card in the game, right there with Black Lotus and all the others at the beginning, since 1993. And this one is now in Modern, which, you know, if you're a blue mage, you might actually end up checking out Modern. I'm personally not gonna play Modern unless I'm borrowing a deck at one of our opens or something, but man, they keep giving me more cards. You get Jace the Mind Sculptor, you got Stoneforge Mystic for Batterskull, now Counterspell. I don't know how much more attractive you can make it, but I'd probably still just mostly be playing Legacy and Vintage and Old School. We'll see, though. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun to get back to the table regardless of the format, and that should be happening over the summer. We've got Brainstone, a play on Brainstorm. So for 3 mana, you got a Brainstorm, which is not really where you want to be. I suppose there's some combo implications. It is an artifact. If this was at common, I would say really interesting card, because there are certain decks in Pauper that could have possibly wanted this effect that could recur it. But overall, not super excited about this card. Interesting art. Really, really interesting art. I like just the effect that Drew Tucker is able to create. It really grounds the card, kind of the bokeh in the background with it being blurred out because of your focus being on the Brainstone itself is really interesting to have that kind of depth of field perception. We don't really see that a lot in Magic cards, and I mean, I wish the card was better. I love the effect. I just think the mana cost and the resources needed to make it work are a bit much. Of course, Wizards just loves their puns. We had Brainstone. Now we've got Diamond Lion, presumably where the Lion's Eye Diamond comes from, I guess. This one is nowhere near as good as Lion's Eye Diamond, mostly because of that tap clause. Like, it's kind of an interesting choice. So the original Lion's Eye Diamond doesn't have to tap. It doesn't tap, like nothing about have to. It literally doesn't tap to use its mana ability. So if you have an Urza out, you can tap it for a blue and then sacrifice it to get even more mana. And that is really, really strong in Urza decks. Also, if it had that clause here, you wouldn't have to deal with summoning sickness. So here, I don't know. I can't imagine this really being good enough to see play. It's 2 casting costs, doesn't come online until turn 3. The effect is kind of a combo feel, so I don't know. I am not sure what to make of this card. It seems like it won't be good at all, but I suppose it'll depend on the amount of flashback cards that you can cast from your command zone. I don't know. It just doesn't seem great. I guess it really does depend on how many things you can cast that are not being cast from your hand, because of course you can't cast spells from your hand in order to use this card, because discarding your hand happens before you'd be able to use the mana to cast the card. Urza's Saga, this is an interesting one. I got a feeling this is going to be in just about every commander deck. It's colorless. There's nothing on here to denote color, so it's available to all commander decks. The fact that it taps for a colorless, of course, doesn't help some decks very much, but it's still a land and an enchantment. But, you're playing this as a land. You get that artifact construct if you've got any artifacts in your deck, which most reasonably powerful commander decks are running. Your Soul Rings, your Mana Crypts, your Signets, Talismans, any type of acceleration like that. And then at the end of its tenure, it just turns itself into a 0 or 3 casting cost artifact, and not even coming into play tap. So you're mostly just going to go get Soul Ring with this if it's legal in your format. Mana Crypt or Black Lotus, Jeweled Lotus. There's a lot of great options. Sensei's Divining Top is one to think about as well. This card just seems extremely strong, and I won't be surprised to see this seeing play at really any level. I think this is an obvious card for Commander, but I wouldn't be shocked if something like this was even good enough to see play in Vintage under the right circumstances. Of course, everyone knows about the Fetchlands coming back. Now, as an aside, Modern Horizons originally was all new cards to Modern, and now we've got Arid Mesa coming back, which lines up with the original Modern Masters, which was just reprinting all sorts of cards for Modern. So we had Modern Horizons and Modern Masters, putting them together now. Modern Horizons moving forward is apparently going to be some cards getting introduced to Modern, but also reprinting cards that are very valuable, and they are really, really juicing the value on these boxes. They've got Fetchlands at rare, and also the values on the wholesale side are very, very high. I mean, it was almost 20K for my pre-orders, or my, not even pre-orders, I don't take pre-orders, but just my initial wave of orders, with the expectation of being able to reorder more because it's supposed to be print on demand. So I was going easy on it, and it was still almost 20K worth of product, just like bare minimum. So this is going to be a really interesting set. I think some stores could be in a lot of trouble if it doesn't sell well for them, because this could tie up a massive amount of capital, but I think it probably will sell well. That is my guess. And I'm hoping that the price is reasonable based off of the wholesale cost, just in terms of the viability of the entire system that's getting cards out there. Because at the end of the day, when Wizards of the Coast is printing boxes of cards that are $400 or $500, when they're going direct to consumer, I mean, that is pure profit. That is unbelievable. They can cut everybody out. So I don't know how this is going to play. We'll see how much we actually get. But Arid Mesa, Marsh Flats, Misty Rainforest, Scalding Tarn, and Verdant Catacombs, those enemy-colored Fetchlands are coming to Modern Horizons 2, and they're going to be worth quite a bit, even because of the reprint, just because of the cost of the boxes. This is going to be really interesting as far as economics go. I consider this to be a fascinating experiment. And then to make it even more exciting, we don't necessarily know, I believe, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, where these are going to be found. These are old border Fetchlands, almost said Shocklands, Fetchlands, and they've got that original art on them. And man, I don't know if it's because I'm ancient, I just love the old border. Like, all I see is the art. Like, the art is what it's about. It's like if you have, you've got a glass and you're filling it with wine. Like, you're not supposed to see the glass. You're just supposed to see the wine. That's the point of it. And in the frame of these old border cards, I feel like it just draws your eye to the art itself, so you can really appreciate it. I'm loving it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't really love the new frame. I'm not like type of person that was bitter and upset about it. I just was never really impressed with it. Supposedly it was more readable. I never had a hard time reading the cards, so it didn't really bother me at all. And to be honest, you don't really read cards once you know what they do. Like they just become a game piece. You don't need like a little notation on a king or queen in chess to remember which way it moves. I mean, you see the art for Misty Rainforest and you know what it does. So these are just absolutely wonderful. I can't even guess what these are going to end up going for. It's going to be very interesting. But that's all we know about Modern Horizons 2 so far. It's going to have new cards in it, old cards in it. It's going to be very expensive. It is coming out in the middle of June, and we still don't know a lot about it. So we'll have spoilers incoming. I'll do the full spoiler video on that. There are pre-release kits. There are collector booster boxes. There are set booster boxes, draft boxes. There's a whole ton of products that go along with this. So this is a really new kind of space. Like Modern Horizons 1 felt a little bit more like a Masters set. This has got kind of more DNA with a regular release because it's got those collector boosters and all the other boxes. So we will see. And if you're really interested in this set, I am getting a list going for people just so I have an idea of how much product I should be ordering, but we're not taking any money on pre-orders. But you can message the store and ask, and we will put your name on the list to make sure that we can get you product. But we have no idea what it's going to cost yet or what the timeline is going to be on any of this stuff. It is still very chaotic coming from Wizards, but I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping that this set is going to be a ton of fun, just like Modern Horizons and the original Modern Masters were.